Javier, how's it going?
Good. It's going good. So I was joined.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Jess.
Hey, what's up?
Is that mountain back up there where you live?
Mount St.
The
Helens.
background?
No, I should make my background. I'll make it a classroom.
I thought about just taking a screenshot of my own background and then turning it on so I could go
Everybody.
here.
Well, I guess I can't play around with my background right now because I should probably start the lesson. Do we probably have everyone? Is it recording?
It is.
And can everyone see my Revit?
Yes.
And no flickering?
No flickering.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to teach how to create a floor plan in Revit. So first step is you want to make sure you've got all your grid lines and floor levels already in the project. And I think next week Gabe is teaching a model setup class, and so he should be touching on how to do that. So I'm not going to get into it here. Just know that if you want to make a floor line, you have to be sure you've got all your floor levels and all your grid lines in your project already. So then you'll open up, and usually when you're getting the project from project setup, oops, let me delete these. You'll just have the first floor. Maybe project setup will give you a couple of floors, but you'll want to create all your floors. So you'll go to view, plan views, and then you can drop down and select floor plan. If you've got panels or something, you would select reflected ceiling plan to show those, but we'll just do floor plan. And then when this opens, you can choose a floor plan type, and these are templates that come in with the standard Walters and Wolf Revit template. You can also hit edit type and then create your own floor type if you needed to. For some reason, you would duplicate and then rename. Like if I wanted a 1/8 inch plan, I would duplicate, rename, create that, and then I would also have to change the view template, because so the type doesn't actually change like the scale or anything. Then you'd have to change the view template, which then I would have to duplicate right here. Probably it's not likely to have to go through these steps unless you have a really special condition. You can usually just work with what comes in with the template. Okay. I'm gonna go back to WW floor plan 1/16 of an inch. So then default for Revit is they're just gonna show you levels that don't already have floor plans made for them. If you uncheck down here where it says do not duplicate existing views, it'll just show you all your levels in the project. And then you can just hold one, shift, click, and select everything and click OK. And it'll make all those floor plans. So you see I already had a first floor plan, so now I've got first floor and then first floor 2. So you can see here, this is first floor, just the first floor 2 that I just created compared to the one that like had annotations on it already. So part of making the floor plan is going to be to go back through and add these annotations, fix up all these columns and everything. So this is your project browser, and over here, all your floors are going to be organized by that floor type that, remember, we chose right here. So all those floors I created are under WW Floor Plan 1/16. So I'll go to the one I just created, and then your view template is over here under your properties browser. So if I and also your floor plan type is up here. Like if I just change this to 1/8 of an inch, it's actually not going to change the scale. If I just change the floor plan type, I have to change the view template if I wanted to change the scale for whatever reason. I'm going to change it. But changing the floor plan type right here means that now it's in this other category in my project browser. Okay. So once we make the view, so this is a view, we've got to move it onto sheets. Here is a blank floor plan sheet. It's got the tile block and the north arrow. So in our standard Revit template, it comes with, here, I'll just show you. This is just from the standard Revit template. It'll come from sheet 101 to sheet 109, and it's just blank with a north arrow. So one way to move your floor plans onto sheets is to go to that sheet in your project browser. Then you find where it says floor plans, find the floor plan you want to put on a sheet, and just drag it into place. That's just the sort of Revit default way. There's another way to do it with a tool Alan made. If you go to WW Modeling, it's this Create Sheets tool. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 floor plans. So I could add them all to sheets right now with this tool he made. So you would type in 7 sheets, change the sheet name to be plans. Sheet set is shop drawings, put in your initials, and then you could, so I can't do 101 because that sheet's already made, so I'll do 101A, and then 102, 103. And then, oops. Which number? Oh. Okay. Then you can come to place view and then find your, it's just finding all the views in the project. Gotcha. Oh, so first floor. Okay, and then you would add your arc refs, which I'm just gonna do random because I don't know what they are. Okay, so you could put all your views onto sheets this way, and once you click OK, it's going to generate those sheets. The benefit of using Allen's tool is it prompts you to do the arc ref. It prompts you to add your initials. And those are things that people forget to add a lot when they go the Revit route, because then you're just, so the Revit route where we just drag the view onto the sheet, you have to remember to come back later and add that information, which a lot of people forget. Versus the one that we just put on the sheet using Allen's tool, like the arc ref's already in there, the initials are in there, the sheet set. Okay, so once you've got your view onto a sheet, you have to make sure that it's in a good place on the sheet. Well, this job is really easy because it's so small. Some jobs though might be like hanging half off the sheet, so you've got to move it into place. The other thing to make sure you have is your north arrow. So if you use the method where you're dragging your view onto the pre-made sheet, the north arrow is automatically in there. But if you use the sheet maker tool, you've got to just remember to copy and paste it onto your sheet. And also, either way, you know, ensure it's actually pointing in the right direction. Usually north is up here, but not always. So if you have a job where for some reason you have to have, like the north would be this side, you would click the north arrow, hit edit type, and then here you would change that to this 270, and that's going to update your north arrow the same in all your views that you have it placed. So once you've got your views onto sheets and you have your north arrow and you've made sure that your floor plan's in a good place on your sheet and it's not hanging off half the sheet, there is a tool you can use to place all of your floor plan views at the same spot on the sheet, because what you don't want is to have like one floor plan in the center of the sheet and then you flip the page and the next floor plan is off somewhere else. It's better if they're all aligned. So Alan made a tool for that under WW modeling align. So you will select the sheet that is in the correct place, and then you select the sheets that you want to have the views align, and then click OK. So now see this move to the center. So then the next thing is you want all of your grid lines to look pretty and be easy to read. And you'll notice on the new views we made that there's kind of like some of the bubbles are down here. They're overlapping in some places. It doesn't look very good. So I'll show you how you can adjust it. So if you click a grid line, there's a little open circle that you can hover over and then click, and it lets you drag all the grid lines up and down. You can click either end. And then also if you click, you'll notice there's a little check mark at the top and bottom. So that's turning on the bubble or turning it off. So for here, we don't want the bubble down below, we want it up top. And sometimes this will happen where like one grid line for some reason is not in sync with all the other ones. So if you just select it and drag it up, eventually, yeah, this will happen where it's kind of sticking, it's finding and sticking to the other grid lines. So release it, and now it will stay in sync with all the rest of the grid lines if you end up adjusting them. So here, obviously, it's a problem that these are overlapping. So if you click a grid line, there's this little symbol to add an elbow. So if you click it, and then you can grab the dot and drag it out of the way. So on this view, I've already made all the grid lines look nice. So once you've done that to one view, just select one of the grid lines, right click, select all instances visible in view. So you're selecting all of them, and then you can hit this option that's under modify, propagate extents, and then select all your other floor plans and click OK. If we go back to the one we were just working on, so it's updated all those grid lines now to match the one we chose. So one thing to note with this is sometimes we have scope boxes turned on. So this project doesn't have any scope boxes in it. But if you did have a scope box on a floor plan view, propagate extents won't work. So what you have to do is just go to your floor plans with the scope boxes, turn the scope box to none, run propagate extents, then you can put your scope box back. So then next step is to add your grid line to grid line dimensions. And so you can do that by going to annotate, aligned, to select your dimension tool, or you can use the shortcut DI. And then you'll just click one line at a time, and it just puts them all in there. All the grid lines are attached to each other. So one thing to know with Revit, is, so once I've got this in here, now if for some reason I hide this or something, it's just gonna make that dimension disappear. Or if once I have this in here, if you could then sort of, if you click in here and edit the dimension, it's gonna move the grid line. So be careful. Or maybe you want to do that, I don't know. So once I have the grid lines placed in one view, I'll come back to 101A. So this, once you have the grid to grid dimensions in the project, you can actually just select them, Control C, and then if I go to modify, I can do paste, align to selected views, and then I can choose my other floor plans. There's a lot of extra stuff in this project, sorry guys, but just choosing my other floor plans that I made. And now if I like go to 102, my grid line to grid line dimensions are in there. So then the next step is to dimension, add all your current wall dimensions. So one way to do it is just manually just activate your dimension tool, and then you'll have to, go find your current wall, and in Revit, to cycle through selections, you hit tab. So basically hit tab until you see the handle for what you're trying to dimension to pop up, and Revit will pop up a little box that kind of describes what you're hovering over. So this is the curtain wall shape handle, which is correct. That will be the edge of my curtain wall that I want to snap to. So click it, and then find your next shape handle. Then you can drag your dimension out. So that's the manual process for adding dimensions. If you want to add where it says DP to DP, is 2 ways to do it. One, you just double click and this box will pop up. And then you would just type in DP to DP as a suffix, click OK, it comes in. Another option, all dimension. Oops. This guy. Another option is to use a tool Alan made. So under WW modeling, there's this Append Tool. And so with this, the good thing with this is you can actually click multiple dimensions at once. So we'll just click these two. And then it's a really similar box, but he just has DP to DP as like a sort of pre-selected option. And then you click OK, and it updates it. One thing to note is, well, here let's say I had accidentally like snapped to this panel here instead of the edge of my curtain wall. If so you can select your dimension string once you've made it and click this little blue button, move witness line, and that lets you snap to something else. But one thing about that is it will get rid of any of your text dimensions. So if you ever have to move your witness line around, you have to go back in afterwards and add your text dimensions back. So it might be helpful if you're placing dimensions to just hide anything else in your project that's not your current wall. So you can see that since that dimension disappeared when I hit the architect's model, it means I wasn't actually snapped to our current wall. I was snapped to something in the architect's model.
Is that only true if you use Alan's tool?
No. It's true. Anytime you add text to a dimension, it will disappear if you do Alan's tool or you do it manually. It's just, I guess, something AutoCAD overlooked, Autodesk overlooked. So sometimes, so you see I have that dimension there, and I had accidentally snapped to the architect's model. When I hit the architect's model, it disappeared. Well, if I bring the architect's model back, it's gonna come back. So you just gotta look out for stuff like that, because you might think everything's good and then you have something hidden. So this is a manual way to add dimensions. to a floor plan in Revit, and you can look on the like shop drawing standards wiki to see like all the things that it kind of details everything we're supposed to dimension. There's another way to add dimensions to the curtain walls that's also related to a tool Alan made. So it's called Sheet Maker. And really what it is a tool to make the elevations, but it also adds floor plan dimensions. So I just activated it and I'll do 2 elevations. Oops. Sorry, I forgot something. You can't use it. So you can edit a view from the sheet that the view is on, but the Sheet Maker tool only works if you go to the view. So I'm going to go to the view itself. Then I can run it. So I'm going to click this curtain wall. And so this is really a lot of options about making an elevation over here, but what we're concerned with here is this choice to add curtain wall dimensions. And this is kind of indicating how far back from the elevation that dimension is going to be placed. And then it's letting us choose which views we want to put these dimensions on. So I'll add it to the first and second floor. It's finding all the views that this curtain wall we selected is running through. So then I will click finish. Oh, do my initials. Finish. Oh, no. Well, if this worked, which I don't know why we had a bug. Are you guys seeing all my error messages?
No.
Oh, I think because I'm not showing my screen, I'm just showing Revit. Basically, I just got an error message. The Sheet Maker is not working for some reason. But if it had worked, it would have dropped in the dimensions with this DP to DP just automatically on all the sheets I'd selected. Have you guys been seeing any of my dialog boxes? No one?
I think I saw one.
Okay, do you see a dialog box right now?
Yes.
Okay, then it is working. So do you see this dialog, the dialog box that just came up that I hit OK?
A few seconds ago, yes. I don't see anything right now.
I saw it too.
Okay. So this was the dialog box for Sheet Maker that just didn't work for some reason. I'll just try it only on the first and second floor and see if it works. Yeah, so I'm getting a error message. It's just not working for some reason right now. All right. Well, if it had, it would automatically generate some of the dimensions. And if you run the Sheet Maker going all the way around the building, it kind of tries to find, find all the dimensions you need. Like it tries to dimension to the grid lines and add everything. It doesn't always get it right though. I wish I could show you guys, but it would pretty much load in most of your dimensions, and then all you'd have to do as a drafter is come back through and sort, edit, and adjust stuff as needed. So one thing with that is it's not really going to pick up if you've got a bunch of overlapping text. So if you do have overlapping text, if you select the dimension string, you can go to the text, and if you hover, there's a little dot, you can click and drag it out. Any questions about dimensions? Okay.
Hang on, Jessica was trying to find my mute button. Looks like it got moved. So can you copy this once you make these dimensions? Can you copy them to the other floors?
Yeah.
Just
So
like you did with the
once
mountain?
once you make these dimensions, you can copy it up to other floors. The thing is, they're only going to paste where that model element they're snapped to is visible. So here, let me, this elevation doesn't go to the roof floor. So if I add this dimension, do Control C, paste, align to selected views. I'll do the first floor because I know it's on the first floor, and then I'll do the roof floor. Okay. So if we come to, oops, the first, it didn't paste, so probably I was snapped to the wrong thing. Let me just grab this string. So Control C, paste, align to selected views. I'm gonna do second floor, third floor, fourth floor, roof floor. Okay. So if we come to the second floor, see this whole string is in there now because everything that it was snapping to on the first floor is also in this second floor view. If I come to the third floor, now we've got this kind of weird situation because the curtain wall that was in between these two dimensions on the first and second floors isn't in this view. It stopped, but it's still picking up for the extents. Whatever we had these snapped to below, it's still kind of picking them up. So you would basically, this kind of just bugs out. You basically have to just remake this whole string. Because if I drag this over here, it's trying to find that curtain wall that's not there to snap to, and it creates some weird bugs. If we go to, where's the roof? Yeah, and the roof floor, nothing pasted because nothing that we were snapping to on other floors is present in this view. Any other questions on dimensions? Okay. So one thing just to note is make sure that you add these little faces system dimensions. And this can be tricky sometimes in Revit because we have, let me just isolate. We have an insertion point of our curtain walls that you can see this like blue line. And sometimes that doesn't actually match with where the dim point is shown in the details. On this job, it matches because it's a capture job. So you can see here the face cap comes right out to that line. If it was a totally inviso system though, you wouldn't have the face cap come out there. So probably on the details, it would be showing the DP starting from here going back, not just from some invisible line 1 inch forward. So when you're putting in the face of system dimensions in, you have to be really like aware of what you're actually snapping to in the model and how that relates to your details. And it might mean that you need to update your details to show the dim point an inch forward, or if you really need to be dimensioning like just at the face of glass for some reason, you can get that dimension. You just basically have to hover over it, the face of glass. It doesn't want to do it, and hit tab a bunch of times till you get it. And yeah, you can see sometimes it really does not want to grab that line. So another option is to create reference planes. Oops. Can name them, which are a little easier to find and dimension to, so you could dimension that way. But really, it's so easy to make mistakes this way. Like, if it's possible, if you have an Inviso system, to just have your details show that dim point like at this line, that's kind of the best scenario. If it's not possible, use reference planes and set your reference planes for your face of system. So once you've got everything in, we talked about how to drag these little guys to clean up your strings. Make sure that there's no overlapping dimensions, and everything's readable. Then you'll need to add door numbers into your floor plans. So to do that, go to annotate, tag by category, and then if you hover over the door, it's going to pop up this tag. And I'm actually going to turn off leader. So it'll pop up the tag. So you can see here, this door is already named. Usually, if it's a new job, the door is not going to be named, though. We'll just pop up with like a little question mark, and then you'll name your door. And then the good thing is, once your door has been named in one tag, any other views you make where you tag it, it's going to find that same number again. And also with the door tags, you can fill in like, I don't know, any special information that you need to underneath it. And again, like next time that you make that tag, it's already going to be in there. Then you also want to show your stairway and shaft and elevator locations on your floor plans. So there's two ways to do that. Right now I have the architect's model turned on, but it's a little messy. Like it's showing all this parking stuff. And if I really just want the architect's model to show the stairs and the walls, like there's a way to do that by modifying view template settings. So you do that by going to your properties browser, view template, WW floor plan, then go to VG overrides RVT links. First, make sure it's checked. So it's checked, click edit. Then this is the architect's model. They're usually named something funny. So you'll click the architect's model. So right now, the reason the architect's model is all gray is because I've already got it selected to be halftone. So once I've clicked it, I go to display settings where it says custom, click that. Under basics, custom, you automatically it will have like by host view selected, so you have to click custom. Then you can go to model category where automatically it'll say by host view drop down, so it says custom. Then we're gonna go through the model categories and turn off stuff we don't want to see. So we don't want to see the architect's curtain systems, so we'll uncheck that, or their doors. A lot of stuff. We probably want to see their floors. We might want to see their generic models. It kind of depends what they're using them for. So you can just uncheck stuff you don't care about seeing. And sometimes you have to be sort of going back and forth a lot, turning things off and on to make sure you're grabbing everything that you want. So we do want the stairs to be on. And actually, we don't want structural frame stuff to be on because we're getting that from the structural model for this job. And we do want their walls to be on because we want to see where their walls interact with us. So click OK. And then we also want to make sure that we turn off their grid lines, which is already off. So how you do that is you click custom, then you go to annotation categories, drop this down. It's going to automatically be by host view, so drop it down to custom, and then you don't have to like go through it item by item because we don't want any annotations from the architect. So you can just uncheck show annotation categories in this view and click OK. OK. So a bunch of stuff disappeared, and some stuff we actually probably wanted in there, the elevators, and there's still some stuff here that we don't really care about. So if you want to figure out like, oh, why didn't this thing disappear that I don't like? If you just hover over it and hit tab, you can select an element in the architect's model. So this is a floor slab. So it didn't disappear because it's a floor, and we said we wanted to keep the architect's floors, and that's probably true. We can still hide this in view though. It's just a little tedious. Like if we wanted to hide all this stuff, one way we could do it is by hovering over everything we want to hide and hitting tab until we select it, and then you can right click hide in view elements. So you could go by element and kind of hide the extra stuff you don't really want. And if you realize later that you made a mistake and you actually wanted to show that floor slab, you come down to this little light bulb, reveal hidden elements. And then it's everything that you've hidden is going to show up in pink. So you could hover back over something that you hit tab until it's selected, click it, right click on hide and view elements, and then turn the light bulb off. For this job, that's probably the easiest way to like hide this extra stuff. Let me see what the normal floor slab looks like. Okay, let's see. Oh, so my normal floor slab is 10-inch concrete slab, and the guy I want to hide is 10-inch slab. Actually, you could create a filter. So I'll show you how to do that. If you go to view template, filters, you can add new, making a filter, new concrete. And I'm gonna filter out floors by name, family name, and does not contain concrete because the floor I like has concrete in the name, which hopefully this works. And turn the visibility off for those. Okay. So you can, besides, like if you have to hide some specific things, you can get tricky with filters to try and hide it. Like I could come up with a way with filters to hide all this stuff if they have some similarities in naming without having to go through and click one at a time and hide in view. Does anyone have questions about like being selective about what you show and hide from the architect's model?
Is there a way to deselect all those items on the architectural model before it gets loaded up?
No, you could open up the architect's model yourself and like delete elements, and then make a copy to load in. It's just really a lot of work. And the problem with that is, okay, great, you did all that work for the first model they gave you, and then a few weeks later you get their second model and you have to do all the same work again. At least this way, usually the architects, you know, they're modifying stuff. They're not usually adding a bunch of new model elements. So if you hide stuff in their original model, when you get their second model, you can, where you have your models linked, you can, I'll just show you, you can go, so this is where you edit your linked models under manage links. Can you see this dialog box, Javier?
Yes.
So like if I got a Delta 2 model, I could just click this and then hit reload from and click the new model, and it's gonna load that in to place where the old model was, and any like settings I had to the old model are gonna be also applying to the new model. But if I hid stuff by making a copy and deleting elements out of that copy, you're gonna have to do that again every time you get a new model.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So then the next thing is you want to show your structural columns. Oh, sorry, I was gonna so being really selective about hiding stuff in the architect's model is one way to get voids, staircases, elevators, whatever, into your floor plan. That's kind of depending on the architect having that stuff included. The other way to do it, you can just do it manually. If you go to annotate, detail line, this is how you can just draw, you could just draw a square. Like if I didn't have the architect's model for some reason, can just draw a square with an X, like a really simple way to show a void, and then oops, add text, stair number 1. And then once you've done this on one floor plan, you can do the same thing we talked about with dimensions, where you Control C and then go to modify, drop down paste, align to selected views, and then you could just paste that on all your views that have that staircase. You can do this even if you are going to show the architect's model, just in case it like gets detached or deleted somewhere. At least you've got those notes there. If you're like want to make it easier to move this around, you could select these lines and that annotation, and then under modify, there's this little option called create group, and you could just make a little detail group of stair one. So now this is all grouped together. And you could do that for each of the stairs and for the elevator. So then the other thing is you want to be showing the walls or other perimeter conditions in your floor plan that aren't by us, but that we have to interact with. So in CAD, like we would, let me hide this again. So in CAD, what we wanted to always do was just kind of show that outside line. It's like basically impossible to do this in Revit unless you're just using detail lines to show the perimeter, which is kind of not really taking advantage of Revit. Really what you want to be doing is setting, like having the architect's model loaded in, or the panel subcontractor's model loaded in, or the precast model loaded in, and using view template settings to only show, you know, the most important stuff. But you do sometimes just end up with a little bit of extra things. So like here, sorry, it's loading. But here, if we only really wanted to show some of this walls, it'd be really onerous to hide all these extra walls. That's why I usually just set the architect's model to half tone, so it's not as distracting when there's extra stuff. Does anybody have any questions about that? Nope. Okay. I'm going to open up another project because this one just froze. So, okay, so then the other thing you want to always make sure is included is the steel columns or any other structure. So let's see if we've got, oops. So here I just selected the steel model for this project. It's kind of an ugly model, but
Not seeing your screen.
Oh, you can't see my screen anymore.
I mean, we see your screen. It's just the windows. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you can see.
Sorry. Okay. So here is a steel model for this project, One West Side, and you can't really control all the time like what the steel model is going to look like. Like this one just has a lot of detail and a lot of stuff in it that's a little busy, but at least, you know, you're showing it and you know that what you're indicating in your drawings is basically matching what the steel contractor is giving the architect and everyone else. Also in One West Side, we have a lot of stuff is just being done by stud framers, and they gave us their model too, so we've even got, you know, that information in here. And with loading that in, you kind of have to go through the same process that we talked about with architect's model. You'll go to your view template, VG overrides RVT links, and then I've can see like already well, with the seal model, I didn't turn off anything except for annotations. But sometimes you kind of have to go through and turn things off or on depending on what you're working with. And actually for this project, with the seal model, they sent us an IFC file, which you actually cannot load IFC files into the cloud shared models. So I had to convert it to a Revit file, which was some challenges. So if anyone ends up with that, just ask me about it and I can help you. And again, I'm just showing the steel and framers model in full tone, but I could change it to halftone if I wanted to. If you don't have a steel model and you're probably not ever going to get one, you can model those elements into your own project by going to structure, column, and then right now I don't really have any column types loaded in, but we have a library where you could access it and get all the different column sizes, and then you would just be placing them in plan and then adjusting them in elevation to get them into your model. It's just a manual process of going through the structurals and then loading those elements in. And then for like final steps for creating a floor plan view, just make sure that you're going through the shop drawing, standards. They have a lot of information, and some of the stuff is really difficult to achieve in Revit. Like, for example, floor plans will not show interior walls. Is kind of hard to do because you would have to have a way to filter those out, which is why I show it in halftone. But most of the stuff in here you can show in Revit plans. So does anyone have any questions? Because we're almost out of time. Hello?
Nice job.
Okay.
Very nice, Jessica.
Yeah, it was very good. Thank you.
Thanks for the tricks.
Cool. Here it is, we're a very quiet crowd.
What do you mean we were yelling? We were just on mute.
Well, my Zoom just like totally gave up on showing your faces too, so that was a little weird. I can't see anyone's faces right now.
It's very good,
Oh,
Jessica.
Thanks.
Kind of refresh me. You teach me before.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks, Jessica.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Jess.
Jessica.
All right.